You remember a time when boredom was real, when you had to wait for the phone to be free just to ask your friend if they were coming out to play, when maps were paper, when music had to be earned. You had to sit through the whole album to find the good song. You grew up in one world and were forced to survive in a completely different one, and nobody warned you that would break something inside you. People born in the late 80s, between 1986 and 1990, are one of the most psychologically unique groups alive today. You're not fully millennial, you're not Gen X. You're the ones who crossed the bridge between two completely different realities. And that crossing? It left a mark. Today I want to show you exactly what that mark looks like, because the moment you understand it, everything about yourself starts to make sense. There are two people living inside you. One remembers running outside until the streetlights came on. One is addicted to checking their phone before they even get out of bed. One wrote letters, one sends voice notes, one learned patience because they had no choice. One expects everything instantly because that's the world they grew up into. And the strange part? Both of those people are you. Psychologists actually have a name for this. It's called cultural bifurcation, the experience of being shaped by two fundamentally different social environments. And people born in the late 80s are the only generation who experienced childhood completely offline and then had to rebuild their entire social identity, their career, their sense of self, completely online. That creates a specific kind of psychological tension, the constant feeling that you're slightly out of place, everywhere. Here's something nobody says out loud. People from this generation are quietly one of the loneliest groups on the planet. Not because they don't have friends, not because they don't have followers or likes or notifications, but because they remember what real connection felt like. They remember sitting at someone's kitchen table with nowhere to be. They remember conversations that lasted for hours because there was nothing else competing for attention. They remember being truly present because presence was all there was, and now they're surrounded by a world that's louder, faster, more connected than ever, and they've never felt more alone in it. That hunger for depth, for real, slow, meaningful human connection, that's not weakness. That's the psychological signature of someone who knows the difference. Let me ask you something. Do you ever feel like you're supposed to have figured it out by now, but you haven't? Like somewhere between 25 and 35, there was supposed to be a moment where life just clicked, job, house, family, clarity, and instead you're still searching? That's not failure. That is a documented psychological response to growing up in rapid economic instability. People born in the late 80s entered adulthood right into the 2008 financial crash. They were told, study hard, work hard, and you will be rewarded. And then they watched that contract get torn up in front of them. Research shows this generation carries higher levels of financial anxiety, delayed life milestones, and a deep-seated distrust of institutions, not because they're broken, but because they were lied to, and they know it. The restlessness you feel, it's not immaturity. It's the result of trying to build a life on ground that kept shifting. But here's what I want you to hold on to. That in-between place you live in, that's not a flaw. That's your superpower. You understand nostalgia and innovation. You can sit with discomfort and adapt to change. You have depth and resilience. You are the last generation that had to imagine things before they could Google them. The last ones who had to sit in silence long enough to actually hear your own thoughts. You didn't grow up soft. You didn't grow up numb. You grew up real. And in a world that's increasingly artificial, in a world chasing filters and highlight reels and curated identities, a person who knows what real feels like, that is the rarest thing alive. If this hit you somewhere deep, share it with someone born in the late 80s, because there's someone in your life right now who's been carrying this without ever having words for it. And sometimes, just knowing someone sees you is enough to change everything. I'll see you in the next one.